Hello, Kelly here with Kelly's Soroka Life, and today I am bringing you the herb mugwort. Now, for last year and this year, I have been studying 4 different magical items every month. And so this month, I am using the crystal sardonyx and the herb mugwort. And I'm also working with the the Blood Moon Tarot and reading Mary Magdalene Revealed. So those are my 4 things for my 4x4 for February this month. So each month I study 4 items and a crystal, an herb, a deck, and a book. And today I'm bringing you the herb mugwort. Now, mugwort is, I think, a lot of times one of the herbs that witches hear about first or study or know about first because it's been associated with witches for a long time. And when mugwort was used once upon a time, it was used as, ironically, protection against witches. So against anything that was evil, and mugwort was used, especially at the time when the kind of that time between when herbalism and herbalists and natural healers were becoming to be thought of as more evil than helpful, and then they became more in the time where people were using kind of that time that Christianity was then creeping in, and people were then using the herb for more protection against the healers, which, again, is very ironic. But today, mugwort has kind of had I feel like, a resurgence, and mugwort has now become not only known for its protective qualities and magical qualities and its long history, but it's also an herb in very valuable in herbalism, and it is very much used as a healing herb. And it seems, I think, probably most people would think of mugwort and probably think of it as like lots of herbs that we have, that is just a weed that's invasive that you should get rid of. And it's really not. It's very magical, and it's very healing as well. So when I started studying mugwort, and I've worked with mugwort over the years, but I really wanted to dive deep into it this year. I really wanted to take it, to give it and give it a whole month to work with it, and see the different ways that it can be used. And I like it a lot because you can use it as a way to make your dreams better. And, when you're doing psychic readings or when you're doing intuitive work, it's really good for that. And it's really good for just kind of letting you go into that liminal space, and letting you go into that kind of space between the hedge space, and so it's really good for that. And I don't really work with a lot of, or I've never experimented with a lot of I guess, psychoactive drugs or altering drugs. And so, but working with an herb like mugwort, it's strong, but it's still very gentle at the same time. And so I feel like that this is, a good way for me to, really walk with a plant ally, and let mugwort help me in that space. And so without feeling like that, I'm experimenting, or I'm doing something that I'm not quite ready for. So mugwort has been that good, kind of bringing me into the space of herbalism and using, especially teas and herbs and spells and things like that. So mugwort has been there, over the years, and this year I decided to really dive into it. And so, I started looking up mugwort and finding out more specifically about it. I knew that it was kind of famous for being used in a flying ointment once upon a time, that people believed that mugwort was one of several herbs that people, witches specifically, put together, women put together, and they would use it to actually, there were stories that they actually flew, and that maybe we think that maybe that's where the some of the stories come from about the witch on her broom, because they would, use the salve on the broom and then, fly with the broom. Or, it was used for astral travel. It was used to connect with the liminal, to connect with that space of the other world. And so we have stories from that. And so, but it's also very, mugwort is also one of the 9 plants in the 9 plant spell. So when I read about that, I really wanted to know what that was. And so I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with that, looking up the 9 plant spell, getting some information on it, reading about it, finding out what it was. And I did find this is from, I'll leave the links below, but this is the book called The 9 Plant Spell by Joseph Hopkins. And it is about the 9 plant spell, which is a very famous Old English spell that was used in the Middle Ages as a poem. And it's called in Old English, and I am an English major, and I had to take Old English when I was in college, and it's hard. I had to read stuff in Old English. But luckily all of this is translated. But it was really fun to go back and read some of the historical things, because most of the things I read, of course, in college was, very much literature based. And this was really fun to bring in that Old English into this witchy space. So this was an Old English poem from the Middle Ages called a Gauldron, which is sung verbal magic for protection and healing. So the person or people who wrote this verse used these 9 plants and would call on these 9 plants, and call on them for protection for certain things, mostly against venom and air illness and things like that, things that people would have been very afraid of back then. So it was and so the person, so you would call on these 9, you would gather the 9 plants, call on the 9 plants, and then usually make a salve or a paste or maybe even a tea with them, and use them in magical workings and protection. Now, at this time, this was, like I said, this was kind of one of those liminal spaces where herbalism was starting to be taken away from the herbalists and the folk healers and the cunning folk and the women who were the herbal healers, and it was being brought into the church. And so there are references in this Gauldron to Christ, but also to Odin. And so it's very interesting to see how all of these kind of work together, and why someone would need a spell like this. And was it something that they learned from other healers, and then thought, oh well, these are all really good herbs to use for healing, and so it'll be my protection and herb. So I read the book, and this was a really good book. It's very to the point. It has pictures of the plants. It has the translation, and then it also has how a lot of the words have come through different languages, and some of them have disappeared. And then it talks about Odin, and it talks about the gods and the plants and the cosmos. And so it's really a good overview of this poem that's actually rather short and to the point, but there's just a lot to it. And then and I'll have this also, but this I ordered this book and this salve from I think it's called Open Sea Designs, and the salve was made by a company called Elder Sisters Apothecary, and so they had these two things together, so you could get the 9 plant spell and the salve together. So I did that, and I have this, and again, I'll put the link so if you are interested in it, that you want to get it. But mugwort is the first plant ally spirit that's invoked in this poem. And we know what it is, and we have gotten the translation through the years of what they are. And you can read about all of the plants and read about them in Old English, and then read about the translation and what they, were good for, what they were invoked for in this Cauldron. And I think the most interesting thing is that all 9 of the plants are identified except for one. There is one plant that was called in Old English. The translation is venom loather. So venom like a snake venom, and loather like something that would not like venom. So a venom loather, and that's the translation. But apparently through the years and through translations, that what that plant is and all the context that plant was used in is lost, and we don't know. And so it's the 8-plant spell that we know of, plus one that we don't know of. This and the 9 plants or the 8 plants that we do know are mugwort, plantain, lamb's cress, chamomile, nettle, apple, sweet chervil, and fennel. And so there's been a lot of studies. It's very surprising. There's been a lot of studies done about these plants and about what they are and how they were used and why they were very important. And it was just fascinating. And so I did again get the salve, and in the salve they use the 9 plants, but they substitute, is it wood betony, which I've used and I like using a lot. And so they put that in as the venom loather plant. And so it's very interesting. And it's very interesting that mugwort is, the first one mentioned, and it's something that has come through the ages, and something that is now, we're being revived, the interest in this plant, these plants, and this plant spells. And herbalism and protection and healing is all coming kind of full circle. And, it was really fun to work with that, and to just, to really pay homage to mugwort as a plant ally and a plant spirit, and someone as a witch to work with, and to work and have as someone who can, kind of, let you see that liminal space, let you look into your unconscious, let you look into the shadow, let you peer underneath the surface. And so I've really enjoyed working more with mugwort and finding out more about it. And it's perfect if you want, to do some dream work, if you have if you want to go into your dreams more, if you want to do specific dream work with your dreams, it's great. If you're doing readings, it's great for that. If you want to do journeying, any kind of shamanic journeying, or any kind of deep meditation, then this is great for that too. And you can use it. I have some mugwort tea here that I made, and so I'm using. I use that a lot if I'm going to do dream work, or especially if I'm going to be doing readings, or I want to do something very intuitive. So I'll use it then. You can also just use it dried, and you can use the plant. Apparently it grows just abundantly in a lot of places. I've never been able to find it where I live, but I don't know whether I'm just not looking in the right places. But that's one of the things that I want to do this summer is really look for, find out where mugwort grows around here and find it so that, I can see it. Or maybe I'll just plant my own mugwort and get some seeds or some plants and plant my own. So, but again, you can use it in any way. I also have these. This is from, I think it's the Apothecary Spirits Oracle. So I will use just the Oracle card if I want to pull in the energy, and I'll leave the link to this as well. And if I want to just pull in that energy without, having an actual plant, I can do that. There's lots of ways that you can use this energy. But if you do want to use it for spell work, and so I do have a spell for dream work with mugwort. And so this is very easy. Just get some dried mugwort. Get one of these little cotton bags, muslin bags. Fill it with some dried mugwort. And then before you're going to take a nap or go to bed, you can say, tonight I wish to be revealed to me what I need to see. I call on mugwort to hold me well, while in my dreams I do dwell. So may it be. Now, if you have it in your bag, you can place your bag underneath your pillow or near your bed, and this will help you go into your dreams and work with your dreams and do the dream work that you want to do. And again, you can also make a tea. Now it's a strong herb. It has definite taste. So if you're going to use it, you might want to mix it with something else that you really like, something that you like in your taste. You can just make the tea, just smell it, or just have it in a cup, and then you can. A lot of times, I will do that if I don't want to actually drink the tea. Then I'll make it, use it in my spell, and then I'll just, use it on the plants that I have around my house and just use the tea there because they don't mind some tea. So, but those are lots of ways that you can work with mugwort. And again, it's just a fascinating herb and to work with. And like every herb has a story, and every herb has its own way to connect with us. And I'm having such fun working with these herbs and walking with them. And I hope that you enjoy it too, and that you really explore mugwort and see if it's an herb that you connect with and that you would like to work with. So again, for February, I'm working with sardonyx, and so that video and the PDF is already up. The video is here on my channel, and the PDF is on my website. And I'll put the PDF for this one on the website as well. And this video, of course, will be here. And then I will, later on this week, I will be doing the video for the Blood Moon Tarot, which I'm studying this month. And then next week, I will have a report on the book that I'm reading, The Mary Magdalene Revealed. So that's it for me today. And I hope that you get some time to work with mugwort, even if it's just, a little connection and just a little, seeing a picture of it online and connecting with the mugwort and bringing it in when you want to do some dream work or some psychic work. So that's it for today, and I will see you again soon. Bye.